I once asked Merlin Olsen in an interview the hardest he ever hit a player. What's the hardest hit you ever gave? One of the Four Horsemen, one of the great defenders in the history of the game. You know, Father Murphy was another thing for him when he was done playing. But I asked Merlin Olsen once, what's the hardest you ever hit somebody? He said he was in the LA Coliseum and the Browns came in and Jim Brown comes around the end and he had a clear shot at him and he just unloaded on him. Absolutely hit him into Kingdom Come. And he said he was going to get up and have he had visions of it after he hit him. He's going to get up and he was going to watch Jim Brown's eyes rolling in the back of his head. That's how hard he hit him. He said he got up and he watched Jim Brown run 80 more yards for the touchdown.
He's a bad
That's
man.
Merlin Olsen's story of the hardest he ever hit a player in his Hall of Fame career.
Wow.
The man who plays Jim Brown in this brilliant film that has got a ton of Oscar buzz, not just because it's the film feature directorial debut of Oscar winner, one of our favorites, Regina King, but the performances by the cast members and the storytelling and all of that. The man who plays Jim Brown in One Night in Miami, which you can see on Amazon Prime Video, back here on the Rich Eisen Show, Aldis Hodge. How are you, Aldis?
I'm fantastic. How you doing, brother?
I'm better for talking to you. I don't know if you just heard the story I just told about Jim Brown.
I did.
Oh,
I did.
Right? It's
80 more yards, man.
Kept going for the touchdown.
He's superhuman. Superhuman. Well, it's good to be talking to you again, man. Glad to be back on. Man.
Same to you. And so One Night in Miami is about the night of February 25th, 1964, when Cassius Clay surprised Sonny Liston in Miami. And then it's based on the award-winning play of the same name that Cassius went out and celebrated with Sam Cooke and Malcolm X and Jim Brown. And you played Jim Brown in this. How did you approach this role, Aldis?
So the research that I started doing initially was I wanted to see who he was in the 60s in this time, this transitional period, as he was about to make the leap from, football to film. And I believe this would be his last year in football, where we meet him in the film. But I studied what his moves were in terms of business and economics and understanding where he was at on the culture, his views on what was going on in society at the time. So I researched a lot of great interviews, speeches that he gave, interviews I saw on YouTube of him,
Mm-hmm.
There's a wealth of knowledge. I mean, he's got autobiographies. He's got, there's so much work that I could pull from, but I just really tried to specify the 60s and a little bit into the early 70s to get where he was at this point in his life.
Well, in a handful of interviews that I've done with him, where he was the A, I was the Q in it, Aldis, I did ask him once, I'm like, so why did you just leave football? Why did you leave football? And honestly, I've asked him this multiple times, but this is my favorite answer he gave. He goes, well, I decided, I'm paraphrasing here. He goes, in football, you couldn't be hanging out with Raquel Welch and people saying, here's your coat, Mr. Brown. Here's your coffee, Mr. Brown. That did not happen when he was a member of the Cleveland Browns. That's basically what he said. And I'm like, okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down, Jim Brown. I
can see what you're saying. I can see the benefits over there. I got you.
Right. It just. But did you learn about how this One Night in Miami did maybe go down, and similar to what this play was about and this film is about?
Yeah. So per our brilliant writer Kemp, this conversation is sort of in a reimagination of history, right? Taken from different influential moments, but the actual night did happen. The events of what occurred afterwards did happen in terms of Cassius Clay the next morning coming out to the world to say that he was a member of the Nation of Islam. Of course, we know later that year we would not have Sam Cooke within the year we would not have Sam Cooke or Brother Malcolm X with us. And then Jim did leave football, and he made his transition into film, and then a few years later started the Black Economic Union. So it's I think a really firm and foundational telling of what the conversation might have been, based off of these men and their exploits and the research done on their relationships with one another. Kemp, he has a background in journalism, and the man knows stories, he knows people, and he's done all the research and all the work. And he's really an incredible example of how to take lives and exploits and accomplishments and truly celebrate what that is and what it's done for us today.
What must it have been like, right? That the night that Cassius Clay knocked out Sonny Liston.
Oh man,
right?
I
and then
imagine.
and then Jim Brown was calling the fight. He was ringside for it.
Yeah.
And then let's all go hang out with let's go having a party with Sam Cooke, right? And
exactly.
Throw Malcolm X in for good measure. I mean, my goodness, what must that have been like?
So here's how I heard it, because and that was actually one of the coolest things, was to be able to hear Jim Brown, the actual recordings of him ringside and what he was saying and how he was saying it. Because when I did my ringside thing, we did it and we ad-libbed a couple lines and we did a couple takes, but I was really just referencing how he was in during the real event. But as I heard it, don't quote me now, but
yes,
as I heard it, there was no big celebration really planned in Cassius's honor, because there were a lot of people betting against him. They didn't expect him to win.
Right.
So, Brother Malcolm was like, "Hey, let's go to work," because I knew they had big plans, of course, which is part of the reason why he was down there. But they had big plans for the announcement and really discussing it. And I just find it fascinating that these four particular men, after this grand celebration, chose to get together this night and really sit there and talk about doing work. You know what I'm saying? You just have this great celebration. It's like, all right, now let's talk about the real work that we got to keep doing. We got this. Let's keep it pushing forward. It's really incredible to me, because you don't really see that. These men, it's like winning an Oscar and then going to, instead of celebrate, you get in a room with your buddies and say, all right, now, how can we keep making better movies and creating better opportunities for people that really need it? Like, that's the equivalent. You know what I mean?
Aldis Hodge here on the Rich Eisen Show, One Night in Miami. You can see it on Amazon Prime Video right now. What in the world was it like? I mean, she's one of my favorite people on the planet. She's been on the show. She was years ago part of the NFL Network Fantasy Football League as well. She's just a dynamite person and also just great at everything she does. What was it like being an actor in the feature film directorial debut of Regina King, Aldis?
Well, I got to say, man, that being able to have the privilege of being in her first feature film is amazing. You don't get a chance like that ever. That's a once-in-a-lifetime deal, especially with the caliber of the film that we're putting on. But she really is a brilliant director. She knows how to communicate with people. She knows how to really get you to understand her vision, and she kept tone with this film, because there were so many beats that needed to connect because of the way Kemp wrote it so strategically. All these moments connected, and if they were acted improperly, you're not going to get the message. But Regina knew how to keep us and keep that tone going, keep the rhythm right. She understands how to navigate through the problems that we naturally go through on set, with like time constraints and weather issues, and she never loses her cool. But she has such a clear vision. She understands the details, the subtleties in every little thing to really bring something like this alive. Man, she really is. I call her a visionary savant.
That's a good way to put it. How important was it for a person of color to direct this, Aldis?
Oh, it was instrumental in every way and necessary in every way, because of the meaning, because of the message, and because of there's an educational wealth coming from one's culture that cannot be implied, that cannot be falsified or idealized if one hasn't experienced it, right? Mm-hmm. So in this case, the importance of these four men is not just who they are in their profession, what they're talking about. It's their culture. It's why they do what they do. I pay attention to Jim Brown not based off of his accolades as a top tier athlete with records unbroken today, as a top actor. I pay attention to what motivated him to accomplish those great things, and a lot of it had to do with his place in the world and dealing with his culture, right? So having somebody at the helm who understands the necessity of celebrating and really understanding what the conversation is and why we need to have this conversation when it comes to making creative choices, especially on the fly. Her being black meant everything to the success of this film.
Aldis, it's a pleasure having you on. Just a couple minutes left with you. You do realize now you've played Brian Banks, Jim Brown, and also Voodoo Tatum in Friday Night Lights. You've hit pretty much almost every level of football. I don't know what's next for you.
Yeah.
You know, you've done that. When am I seeing City on a Hill again? What a dynamite first season that was.
We actually, I believe, don't kill me on this, don't quote me, but I believe we actually debut, March.
So it's in the can then. You have shot a second season with Kevin Bacon.
Oh yeah, we are on our last week of shooting as I speak. We are on our last week of filming. So we had a little setback with the quarantine, and we took a few months off, but we're back at it, and you will see a new season this year for certain.
Okay, and also, I don't know if you're aware, but you, Bruce Willis, and his wife Holly, I think are the only individuals to appear in multiple Die Hard films. You were in Die Hard with a Vengeance and A Good Day to Die Hard. I know I'm a little late with this question, but what the heck? Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Is the original Die Hard a Christmas movie?
The original Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas movie.
My man.
Irrefutable. It's
Come on.
absolutely a Christmas movie.
You sure it's not a movie that just took place around Christmas? Like it is a Christmas movie?
It is a Christmas movie. The man went on a mission. He jingled all the way. Man, that's look. It's a Christmas movie because I know around Christmas that is one of the top movies that people love to watch, and they play it over and over and over. And because we gotta have a question, look, the answer is yes. Die Hard, the original one, Die Hard 1. Absolutely Christmas movie,
but I mean, It's a Wonderful Life plays at Christmas, but they didn't blow the roof off the bank. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, certain people celebrate Christmas different ways. You know what I'm saying? Like, depends on where you at and what's going on. So,
Okay. All right, Aldis. We'll just agree to disagree. And my wife and I, we showed our 3 kids Hidden Figures. They loved it. They thought it was one of the best movies they've ever seen. So congrats on all that and everything going on with you, man.
Thank you.
I mean,
seriously.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Of
course. Aldis, congrats on this. And when City on a Hill comes back, let's have you back on to promote that and just chop it up some more. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you.
Right back at you. That's Aldis Hodge. Check out One Night in Miami. And Leslie Odom. My gosh. Leslie Odom Jr. is Sam Cooke. Everybody from Hamilton knows the man who played Aaron Burr, sir, is dynamite. My gosh. What a cast that is, and everybody should check it out. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.